Hello, I am Trevor Cuba. In the memory of George Floyd, here is 8 minutes and 46 seconds of silence. Be safe.
This month, these years, they have been hard for queer folk. At this very moment we fight hate across the world, as our very humanity is up to debate in way too many places. We lost so many, and the void left is devastating. We feel lonely and isolated as this ongoing crisis ravages the world. We lost so many over the years, and there's really nothing that can bring appeasement to the void left behind. Still we fight, still we love, still we are ever in the front line against hatred. Happy Pride, radiate wrath, and I can only hope our silly little show brings you some solace in these trying times. We have always been here, and we are not going anywhere. This game contains natural disasters and is not advised for anyone that has aversion to fire and burns. It also involves class violence and the eternal deluge caused by the mercurial love of our dark mother, the sea.
Hi, I'm Brad. I'll be playing Bayushi Minoru of the Bayushi Death Dealer School.
My name is Charlie, and I'll be playing our illusionist, Soshi Yuzume.
I'm Evan Straight, and I'll be playing Sakai no Doji Ikkyo, a member of the Doji Bureaucrat School.
My name is Sam, and I'll be playing Asahina Hajime, a member of the Kakita Duelist School.
I'm Ludo, and I'll be playing the Emerald Lands, as well as all its wonders and horrors. So you paddle through the darkness. You keep turning your head as if you heard the bell, and you reach through the token that you took from the watchtower, and you keep hearing the bells haunting you, and you turn towards the direction of the warehouses, and you swear you could see a scorpion samurai sitting on the roof of one of them, judging you. But the moment you turn your head, there is nobody there, and you stop listening to the bells.
I definitely turn, look, does anyone else hear that?
Everyone turns their heads to the strange, nearly untouched warehouses. They don't seem to be particularly well built to explain surviving these. But yeah, that's the weirdest thing there.
It's a storm. There's a lot that we can hear, my dear.
Hajime says, I think I hear everything, but I don't think I hear... No, I can't hear it.
Must have hit my head. My ears must be ringing.
Yeah, with this quick dismissal of the strange apparition, the party finally reaches the western bank. The water has caused a lot of damage here, and the only safe place seems to be the untouchable commune. And as you dock your boat and you get off it, you look up and you see the spread huts and houses of the untouchable. On the opposite direction, past it, you can see banners flying, straggling against the storm. You can see the Imperial banner, the Mia family banner, and the banner of the Emerald office. It seems that there seems to be a camp there near the untouchable commune on the far side of the hill, on the opposite direction of the crematorium.
As soon as we get everybody safely ashore, I think I take just a moment at least, long enough to make sure that the boat is pretty well secured and not like it's not going to get swept away. I try to make sure that it's well enough up onto the shore that if we need it again, we have access to it.
Doji makes a point of helping Asahina get the boat tied up, but as we're getting out of the boat, he offers his hand to Yuzume and says, "My lady, welcome to the west bank of Hirosaka."
She's going to give him a little glare and then get out the boat on her own. And she doesn't do it particularly gracefully, but she's going to do it on her own.
Hajime turns and sort of makes himself look like he's being very busy with that boat because he's giggling a little bit under his breath.
Bayushi gets up, makes sure Yuzume gets out of the boat safely, and then gets out, commenting, the West Bank. Less rubble.
Yes, it is rather lovely. Thank you, Bayushi.
Well, shall we?
So, as you approach the untouchable commune, it strikes you how neat, clean, and orderly everything is. In fact, despite the scarcity these villagers live under, this is probably the most comfortable and cleanest place you have seen this whole week. Because you've been pretty much on the road or on neglected inns pretty much every single day ever since you left Kyuden Mia. And the villagers, they are focusing welcoming the town survivors. And you can see them staying out of sight the moment they see samurai, but opening their small stocks to the people wandering into their commune. On your actual destination, the Imperial Camp, you can see a lot of engineers work alongside laborers as they seem to be building mobile walls to try to repair the leaf up north. And peasants are setting row after row of tents as Mia Wakaba is riding along, coordinating the massive rescue operation. They notice you and they smile and they quickly shout to someone, "Quick, bring them some blankets and some food." And they point to a large command tent that has the banners of the Emerald Office that you saw from the bank. Kitsu-san told me to, if I met you, to let you wait there.
Do we see Kitsu anywhere?
No. And servants quickly come and give you warm blankets and some porridge, pudding light rice meal. Konje, if you are familiar.
Yeah, Asahina just tucks in. He's starving.
Yeah. She smiles even more as they acknowledge that you have been for quite a lot. It's harmony inside the tent. You should go there and rest. I'll tell Kitsu-san that you have arrived.
Thank you for your generosity, Miyasama.
Asahina looks up and his mouth is still full of kanji, but he tries to be... he just bows. He just doesn't say anything and bows, and then proceeds and goes into the tent.
Yeah. So Mia Wakaba, they just keep going back to barking orders, and they seem to be pretty worried as they see the four of you disappearing. So the tent is quite large. It's really a command tent, and there are 2 lit braziers. There is a big table full of maps and documents that you recognize as the documents that were on the cart. And did I say that this was warm? Yeah, it was warm. And there are some really nice blankets there. And it's, for all intents and purposes, your home, your office outside of office. So you have a moment to relax until the boss arrives. What do you do?
There's a map of the region we're in. I'm gonna go over where the tower, find where the tower fell on the map, and put a mark there somehow. Even if I just put like something from the desk on there.
Yeah, you put there, and you figure out that this is actually on the Uge swamps on the border between the crane and the scorpion. And you're pretty sure that part of the swamps is Daidoji territory.
Doji will pull out the rough sketch he made of the common quarters and the layout and make sure it hasn't been too damaged in the rain, touch up any things that are faded or make a new copy if he has to. And then once he has that done, he'll get straight back out into the rain to see if he can touch base with Wakara to see if there's anything happening on the West Bank that needs to be dealt with.
And the others?
So Yuzume is also going to shuffle over to the map with blankets over her shoulders, and she's just going to mark down that bridge that was repaired and some of the cleared roads, just so that there's an obvious sort of clear route. So if anybody has to go back to that part of the town, they know that way is a safe way back to the eastern side. And then she's going to go up to a fire and just try to squeeze as much water out of her clothes and her umbrella as humanly possible, because she does not like this weather and she is very mad.
Yeah, I think Asahina's doing relatively that same thing. He's just kind of focused on trying to dry off and warm up a little bit. He's enjoying being able to see in a more brightly lit space. That's nice. He's very excited about that. But I think, mostly he's just trying to get into a slightly more comfortable frame of mind.
So you are still working when Mia Wakaba comes in, and they seem pretty worried, and they drop their cloak and sit on one of the corners of the table. Have you perchance meet any other Imperials on the way here?
I didn't see any myself, Mia-san. My apologies.
The East Banks are primarily filled with commoners, and I believe Asahina noted several firefighters or wavemen. I couldn't tell what they were, but from his report, there seemed to be all of the lower classes over in the East Bank at the moment.
Miyasora, the herald tasked to prepare Hirosaka against the storm, is nowhere to be found. The camp was set when I arrived. There were already some people here. But he himself, we don't know. I think that they are either with the Moth family on their keep, or Kitsu-san had the theory that they might be at the courthouse, which is probably the best place to organize any remaining samurai. And, well, Wakaba seems to be pretty worried. It's pretty obvious to Doji Echo that they are really trying to hide how much they are worried about this and about Miyasora. But, I mean, it's really something that Echo notices.
We, passing through the east side of the town, have seen great devastation, but surprisingly enough, the people's will and survival has abounded. There have been many coming out of places that I would have deemed utterly ruined, and they are working together to rebuild. I admit that I, nor the rest of my companions, saw this individual on our journeys through the east side of Hirosaka, but I firmly believe that there is a chance that they are doing well and working to overcome this situation.
They smile and they bow. They seem to be struggling to say something, but they realize that the best way to reassure you back is to say nothing. And that's when Kitsushogu comes in limping. The left side of their clothes is stained dark red, and you can see a slicing cut through his armor. The magistrate will not be of much help to anyone, he grunts. He drops his straw cloak and hat on the floor of the campsite. It seems there's no local authority but us here, I'm afraid. It's good to see that the four of you made out safe. He grunts some more, sits and pours some sake. Well, I would find some solace if you could report what you found on the eastern flank.
Asahina probably, I think, details what happened with the former firefighters who turned into looters or whatever. And he basically, he just details, I guess, what he dealt with personally. And he ends it with, and so now we have a boat also. That's a nice little bonus resource.
Aiko presents the documentation he filled out of the work the peasants were doing with the commoners' quarters and the general establishment, and hands them over to Shogo-sama.
Do any of you say anything else to the report?
So Yuzume is just going to squeeze one little bit more water out of her hair and say, we noticed a boat on our way here, traveling in the opposite direction. It seemed to be helping people out of the water. Was that sent by you?
If I had my guess, I would say it was probably pirates, but pirates still live here and still have families here. I think that bond is more important than looting at this time.
I'm going to take out the piece of the tower that I grabbed. So during my delay, I found one of the watchtowers that fell into the river. And I grabbed this piece of it, and it looks like it was cut perfectly, at least to me. I'm going to present it to show everyone.
Wakaba seems to frown with a demonic glare as they realize what this means, and Kitsu verbalizes it. Are you saying that you found evidence of intentional destruction of imperial property by Yoshi-san? Is that your statement?
I'm going to place it on the desk, point out the mark I made. I believe it merits further investigation, Kitsu-sama, Wakara-sama. But if there is, there would be evidence right there.
The storm will make it complicated to further explore the site, but there's certainly worth case for at least getting this testimony of the local lords. But Yoshi-san, you know your duty. I will be waiting for tomorrow for a complete report on your findings, and I'll expect you to write people to the stewards of this land demanding explanations and scheduling interview as soon as spring comes. Are we understood?
Absolutely.
And he was pretty satisfied, and he's making a pained smirk. Well, now it comes my time to make my report. And he leans over the table and starts pointing to places on the map. So we got lucky. Most of the people, they don't spend winter here. They have relatives on village inwards that tend to be more sheltered for the winter. It's pretty windy here, and there's not any trade going on, so there's really no reason for most of them to hang around. So pretty much all the people that live here, they aren't necessary to keep the town working through winter or serving directly the Moth family. It's even better for the samurai. I think there are barely any samurai around. Most of the samurai of Hirosaka, they are either spending winter court somewhere else, or they are guests of the Kaikoka family of the Moth. So I'm assuming that they are with the keep with their hosts. But that does not mean there is not problem on the samurai quarter. There seems to have been fires lately there. In fact, there was a massive fire on the samurai quarter that only stopped 1 week ago when it started hailing. Pretty unusual fires, from what I am understanding from the testimonies I gathered. It should be unusual for the time of the year and how much it has been raining. So a lot of houses on the samurai district have been destroyed even before this happened. So this offers an opportunity for looters that might want to go around all the empty houses or the places ransacked by the fires. Considering what you told me about the fire-fighting gangs, we cannot put out of the question that they have been causing these fires and been profiting from it. I think that will be probably our top priority. Well, one of our top priorities. The other is to get to the Moth Samurai. I asked around, and they were pretty active during the first hours of the event. They were trying to get as many people inside the keep as possible. That was when the blunt of the deluge hit them, and it destroyed the bridges and walls that connected the part of their estate from the islands where we were around. And it completely destroyed their bathhouse, which was probably the easiest point of entry if a servant would be sneaking in from the eastern side. So that way to reach the estate is completely gone. This means that we will have to go through the western bank, go through the courthouse, and make our way through the barracks and hope that we are able to get there. The Kakoke seem to be pretty busy in the meantime, but their help will be essential to handle this. So I think we have 2 tasks at hand. The first one is going to be for the 4 of you. We are going to the samurai district and you're making sure that there are no firefighter gangs active. Stop any crimes that you see being committed. Then go to the courthouse with prisoners if necessary. I'll be there. I am going to go through the records and see that they are probably kept safe and bring everything here. I have suspicious thoughts about what might have happened here on the last weeks between the fires and this intentional sabotage. And it's very important that nothing happens to the court records in the meantime. And once we both fulfilled our duties, we're going to meet and approach the Moth. Are y'all understood? Do you have anything to say about my assessment of the situation and the proper use of your skills?
Understood.
Perfect.
Of course, the Imperial Order under heaven must be maintained in a time such as this.
Nods in assent with that and then bows. Kitsu-sama, if I may take a moment of your time?
Yes, please. Is this something that you will prefer to talk in private?
If it is not too much trouble, I would appreciate that.
Not at all. And he takes some effort, but he rises and stumbles towards the folded Soshi screen and extends it. And once the 4 panels are open, he moves behind it, clear within earshot of everyone, and waits for you to say something.
Yeah, I think when he tries to get up like that, I'd probably offer him assistance. I don't know that he would take it, but I try.
He won't.
Kitsu-sama, earlier when we were sort of assessing the situation, did anything strike you as odd, out of place? I got sort of a strange sensation that something beyond the realm of the physical was something out of balance. As I was sort of observing the situation, I felt sort of a strange sensation come over me that I couldn't altogether describe. It felt like there was something odd that touched me. Did you notice anything to that extent?
I got a similar feeling walking around the samurai quarter. Well, do you define that as something like summer hair or desert wind?
I suppose desert wind is not an inapt description. It felt sharp and hot. It seemed wildly out of place in a cold and rainy setting. I can't claim to understand the elements or the workings of the kami, but it seemed to me something unusual.
The city has an history with powerful spirits linked to the element of fire. And I suspect they might have awakened it somehow. They might be related to the issues that we have been having, and with the strange behavior of the Moth clan. Why aren't they not around here? Why are they secluded on their keep? Well, it's probably the safest place around, and they must have a lot of people to tend that's hurt on the first wave and their own servants and whatnot, but I would expect at least one of them to be around. I think there might be something else around here. And his expression is like, Why cannot it just be firefighter gangs?
I think Asahina nods and he says, it did seem odd to me that none of them were directing any sort of relief. After all, they benefit just as much from the activities of this town as anyone else does, so I don't understand why they wouldn't be more concerned in its fate. I don't claim to know what we should do here. I would happily defer to your authority, but I felt it important to raise that concern with you.
Well, the things are always weird when they relate to the minor clans, especially because Miyasara will probably have the ultimate authority on how this crisis is solved. I wonder why the Moth seem to be not working with him as closely as before. And he says that he mentioned too much, and he thanks for the screen because he will not want to see Wakada's face at these words. So they might be working together, actually. I have no idea. They might be at the castle. Forget what I said. Just, keep an eye for things out of the ordinary on the Samurai Quarter and play it safe. The last thing that we need is a fire going rampage the second it stops raining. That will make a much bigger disaster.
Of course, Kitsusama, I will do my best to keep some form of order, such as it is over there. And he bows.
Also, well, good work. You all did pretty well on the Western Bank, from what I heard from your report. Take care.
As Doji leaves with the rest of the party, he will slip a small handwritten note to Kitsusama.
We get you seem to be making your way around town pretty easily. It seems that there are ditches alongside the road. It seems like the Mia did a lot of preparations to protect this side. So, Izumi, would you realize coming to this western side, when you looked at the way that the keep is built, how things are split in the middle, you realize that, this architecture, a lot of it prepared for heavy rains, how fortified it seems to be against the other side of the river more than anything else. This was built by the crab. And what you notice now about the western side that tells you that it was something built and decided when the crab occupied these territories and fortified it against the crane and the scorpion on the other side.
It's been decorated and made pretty over the years, but the base structures are very sort of basic, brutalist, utilitarian. She can tell it's made of, there's thick stone. There's, the walls are a little bit higher than anything else on the other side. And, where other buildings for, that samurai would live in, that they would visit frequently, would include some maybe like more decorative architecture or carvings. There isn't anything. It's all been painted on later or tacked on later on the roof or something like that.
What is the rationalization going on to blame these damaging? How much the eastern side was damaged compared to the western on the crab?
Well, clearly they didn't extend the same courtesy that they did to their own housing, that they did to the merchants, the commoners, etc., who are under their protection. And so it says to her that either it was a lack of caring, or that when the crab were here, Hirosaka was much, much smaller. and whoever has moved in afterwards kept the better fortified buildings to themselves and let those who are in different positions in the celestial wheel more or less fend for themselves.
And as you are going alongside all the way up to the northern gate to enter the samurai quarters, a thunderbolt falls pretty close to where you are. And you realize that the storm is right on top of Hirosaka. And another thunderbolt falls again, and it strikes one of the towers of the Moth estate. And the torrent of all-fused rock crumbles over the tea house outside of its gardens and starts a fire inside the state of the minor plan.
I mean, I think I definitely would immediately want to go ahead there. He's starting to jog that way, but he's turning around and like looking backward at everyone else, like just like, are we going? Is this what we're doing?
So you go to the samurai quarters, and for obvious reasons, you're probably not looking around with as much scrutiny as before. And there are 3 streets which seem to have most of the samurai houses. You don't see lanterns around. The state seems for the most part empty. If there are people looking to ride here, they are not very obvious. I mean, a lot of the gardens are destroyed, trampled even. Houses seem to have crumbled under the weight of the hail and the storm. And really, there are really few houses standing. In fact, one of the houses is familiar to Yuzume. One of the few houses that are still more or less intact, other than some paper damage. It is exactly the house they stayed. Who did this house belong to back when they were in the town?
This belonged to a Ide called Ide Rise, who is a caravaner. She'd probably be in her 50s by now. And it's not her main sort of home. She has a few dotted about on different places near her caravan route. And so this is her house.
Yeah, it seems that if she's still living here, she's not here for winter or any of her relatives. The house seems empty. But empty as if someone left at the end of autumn and left everything in order. You cannot say the same about the other house that seems to be more or less intact. It is strange. It is a house in the 3rd Street where pretty much every house has been burned down by fire. The few that remain, they have pretty much lost entire sections and will need some serious rebuilding. But then you have this house right in the middle of the street, which has been not even a scorch mark on it. You see clear signs of a break-in. The house does not seem to be touched by fire, does not seem to be touched by the storm. It's mostly whole, but you can see that someone clearly has forced their way in.
So Yuzume is going to point this out and mention this is a merchant's house or a merchant patron's house. It's likely that it's full of items that people are going to want to steal if they haven't already. I think we do owe it to the owner to investigate and ensure that there's no one in there looting it at the moment.
I'll take the lead on walking up to it. Sword, hand on my saya not drawn.
I think I'm like trying to position myself. One of the people who uses their brain is between Bayushi and I, and the other one is behind me.
You hear a high-pitched scream, and you can hear the sound of footsteps running inside the house. And you can see someone lighting a light inside.
Swords out.
Swords out, rushing up.
In we go.
I'll take the main entrance, you take the tea house.
Asahina nods and starts running towards the tea house.
So, Asahina, immediately as you open the tea house, you can see small footsteps, still fresh on the mud. And you can see a laborer inside the tea house, surprised to see you. And there seems to be a small child embracing them, crying.
Quickly, what happened?
Samurai Sama, the laborer, apologized, stating himself. What do you mean?
What do I mean? I heard a scream. What just happened?
I beg 1,000 pardons. On the name of the fortunes, I swear. Yoshi, he was just scared. He heard you and he thought it was something else. He was not aware that it was you, Honorable Samurai-sama.
Why are you in the house of a samurai? What are you doing here?
I'm a seasonal laborer, Samurai-sama. I work often from the Unicorn clan, and I was caught by doing extra work here, and I ended up having to stay a bit longer to take for him, and he points to Yoshi. So I was pretty much stuck in town, and when the storm came and I needed a refuge, I knew that nobody will be here, and samurai houses are much better built. So I took Yoshi here, and we have been hiding here. We have not disrupted anything.
If there's anything supernatural or the shiver up my spine or whatever.
There is this funny thing about when you are in pain and suddenly you realize you have a break and it stops hurting, and you realize how much in pain you actually were, but your mind was tricking you to go on. You get something similar. You realize how stressful and anxious you've been since you notice that weirdness coming out from west, and suddenly you realize ever since you stepped into this tea house, you are not feeling it. It's extremely calm here. You feel that whatever dissonance of the fire element that is happening all around you, it's here. The spirits are calm in this presence of something here. And again, I want to point out, this house was the only on this street that was not consumed by fire.
Aiko walks in the threshold and just calls and says, if you haven't found anything, we have duties to be attending to.
There's a peasant back here and then he looks at Yoshi, a child.
Doji takes a moment to kind of collect his courtly professionalism manner, and then walks into the room and sees this child and Asahina standing over him and says, "Boy, is there a reason my companion should be concerned with you?"
No, we are just here for shelter. We have not, as Mako said, we have not damaged anything or used any of the samurai good stuff. We even protected the place.
Is Yuzume in this room, or is she somewhere else? Is there something mystical about the situation that I am missing?
Asahina turns and he says, "There's just an odd feeling. Do you not feel that? It's calm here. There's an anxiety everywhere else outside where we've been, but here it isn't. There's just a feeling of peace, some sort of balance. Don't you feel that?"
Doji's knuckles whiten a little bit as he holds his fan, and he says, "If this place is peaceful, why are we here? There are duties to attend to."
I think the only reason that we're here is because this is out of place. And I think he kind of steps back and he says, I will defer to your better judgment.
Unless you two have found anything that makes the use of time we've spent here worthwhile, I recommend we turn to what Kitsu-sama requested us to do, and then we turned from to turn to this.
So Yuzume's just going to, the one visible side of her face is just going to have a bit of a flat look to it. And she'll turn to the peasants and just say, name and profession.
Marco, seasonal laborer. And Yoshi seems confused. Yoshi?
For whom do you work?
It depends. Usually I do contracts for the Unicorn clan or the Moth clan.
And do you do work here?
Not currently.
Do you know the owner of this home?
Yes, I'm familiar. I knew that she and her families will be out of town.
I suggest you find somewhere else to wait out the storm. If you were not given permission to be here, it would be a shame if they were to find out that their home has been broken into.
Thankful, merciful Samurai-sama. But Yoshi is not having any of this. It's not fair. We protected this place. There would not be a house if not for us. It's not fair. And Marco is very pale. I apologize for my child, Samurai-sama. He does not know what to say and forgets himself.
Children often do. What did you do to protect this place, young man?
I kept the fire away.
And how is it you did that?
Yuzume, as you say that, tell me, how does Yuzume usually feel in the presence of other priests? When they have, when the kami are, let's say, excited around them?
I think she probably feels, as with most things, if the kami are excited around another person, she probably just feels very tired having to sort of be near that residual excitement. So she'd be able to sense there's the kami want to talk to this person. And it's a little bit like background noise because she doesn't purposely want to be involved in the conversation.
Yes, so you sense not only this, but you get this sense of hostility, just like when you walk in a courtroom and you realize that everyone has been discussing the latest rumors about you and just gone silent. You get the same hostility going out around this child.
Interesting. She's going to bend down so that she's at his level so she can look at him. And she's going to soften her posture as much as she can. She's normally very rigid and everything. Young man, have you been asking some friends to help you keep this house safe?
There was a very, very bad and friendly friend, and I asked all my other friends to keep him away and calm him, and he did. And he stayed away from the houses. I mean, he was really, really angry. I wanted him to go away from the other houses, but he just went in. I'm sorry. I wish I could have served the other houses.
Do you know, I know the person who owns this house, and I think that they would be so happy that you were able to protect their possessions, their home, and that your friends did so much to help you do that. I have friends of my own that I talk to, and I know that sometimes it can be a little bit difficult when there's a scary one nearby. I think that you were very brave.
Does this mean we can stay?
I think I will give you, young man, an official duty to ensure that this house stays protected. So, yes, you may stay.
Doji will be drafting a small document. During the disaster, these working class peasants were given permission to stay in the house in order to safeguard it from potential damages. Signed, the Office of the Imperial Magistrates, and then provide it to the older of the two.
Michael is still kneeling over, completely pale, and he cannot even utter the simplest words, and seeing the paper, he seems almost ready to break down, and all he can muster is, "Thank you, Samurai-sama. Thank you 1,000 times, and may the fortunes carry you and give you all the blessings."
And Yuzume will just sort of stand up and give them both a short nod.
Indeed, we were instructed to make sure that we prevented as many damages as possible, and this harms no one, yet prevents future damages. Plus, as you say, enriching the future of a minor clan is by far from an honorable action.
Oh, I suppose if none of the other houses happen to have a child who can speak to the kami in them, this may be the best we can do.
The rest of the samurai quarter is empty as you first assume it, and you are able to cross the eerily quiet temple quarter without further issues. And quickly you find yourself in front of the magistrate station and courthouse. And you can see that there are lanterns lit inside the assembly hall, and you can hear voices inside.
I mean, I suppose it'll be the two men with 3-foot razor blades who will take the lead again.
Yeah, I mean, I'll definitely be happy to step in, but...
Yeah, you slide the massive doors open, and inside you see Kitsushogo and Amiya of middle age arguing about something. And as soon as Shogo notices your arrival, he stops mid-word. "This is Miyasora," Kitsushogo introduces. He has been the one handling the situation so far. And you can see that it's really hard for Kitsu to say even this. He seemed to be really containing himself to prevent himself from lashing out at the Imperial.
Like, as I'm kind of putting things together for Iko to share a glance with Yuzume to see if she's picked up on anything, because we've worked together for a while now, and I know she picks up very well on subtle hints from other people that I might not catch at first glance.
Yeah.
Yuzume, what do you see at this nod?
She's more of picking up body language and a bit of lip reading.
Yeah, the two of you working in tandem, you realize that Miyasora has made a request from Kitsushogo, and Shogo basically refused it, and Miyasora was outright to the point of making it an order, and Kitsushogo had to basically give a legalistic excuse, and Miyasora did not get the clue and was going to really insist. And at the moment that you entered, Shogo was really almost to the point of losing it with the Imperial.
Some comment about how negotiations shouldn't be held in back rooms, that if there is a request to be made to another authority, proper forms and documentation are required. Something.
He just says, yeah, I see that you have your underlings here. I have more important matters to tend off. And basically exits the scene as fast as he can with dignity. He barely gives you a second glass. And Kitsu visibly relaxes. So, how did it go?
Aiko will use his fan to gesture to Asahina and say, "We managed to find some precautions against further fires, which we hope will assist some of the remaining samurai quarters, but there is not much action we were able to take beyond that before we entered here."
The fires are potentially being caused by a malicious spirit. There is a young Shigenja in the samurai quarter who was able to speak to some of the other spirits in the area to prevent them from doing further damage. However, due to their age and inexperience, that cannot extend further than the building that they are staying in.
Yeah, Asahina, you look at his face when he hears about the fires being caused by an angry spirit, and you can just recognize by the movements of his eyebrows that say, why did it have to be spirits? But the rest of his body language is pretty relaxed. Once again, you are given an impossible situation and you perform beyond your capacity. I guess it's time. And he starts pulling what seems to be 2 coffers filled to the brim with documents. Well, time to meet the Moth.
Yuzume just kind of fans herself at the sight of all of that paperwork, just very slightly.
Doji is also delighted at the thought of being able to work with something reasonable, like the paperwork in the chests, rather than little boys talking to fire spirits.
So the 2 of you go outside, and you go into the rock garden between the courthouse and the magistrate's station. And before you can do something, you just are blinded by a multiple succession of thunderbolt strikes. And you adjust your eyes towards that, and you can just see the roof of the keep exploding. The 3rd floor, the only part of the building that is made of wood, just ignites in a fireball that collapses from the roof to the bottom of the keep. The entire thing is on fire, and the stone walls glow red, as in less than 5 minutes, what was once the safest place in Hirosaka becomes a fire pit from where there can be no escape. The sky is darkened with ash.
I'm going to go get everyone else.
Yeah, I think the others just hear this rapid discharge and just rush out to see what is happening.
I think upon seeing such widespread destruction, Doji is going to kind of zone out a bit from everything going on and take a moment to recount several ancestral teachings of the crane, like sayings by Doji no Kami.
Yeah, this is happening, and Kitsushogo almost drops the 2 boxes, and he seems tired beyond belief, but there's this determined look on his face. We need to get into the keep somehow. Now, find me a way to get in. We don't have time to go to the barracks. Just find me a weak point on the wall. I don't care how hard it is to reach. Find me one now.
Listen, the boss wants us to find him a hole. We're gonna find it.
Not even just a hole. It'll be the best hole.
You find a crumble section of the wall that has been ravaged by the waters, and where the tea house burned down and the bathhouse was dragged, the wall is just low enough that one could actually scale it. Of course, the problem is that one would have to be jumping over the rushing waters to do that. And Shogo is already putting the crates down and preparing a hooked rope to throw it over. But thankfully, you notice that, hey, you don't need to do this. There is actually a part of the tower that just crumbled that you can just pull it towards you, so you can just walk to the base of the wall and climb it. I don't have to risk jumping this. So you can point that to him or just let him jump like an idiot.
Oh, no, I'm definitely pointing out just Kitsu-sama. Perhaps that would be a little easier?
And he notices it, and without a pause, he throws the rope towards it and starts pulling, and nods to you and Asahina to help him pull. You pull and pull and pull, and while this is happening, that's when you notice the rain has stopped. There is this smell of pine and earthware that is invading your nostrils as picked up by a cold wind. And you shiver as the sweat falls down your brow and ash and snow start falling over your skin. The tower is set. A way into the inferno is open. And Kitsushogu turns to the four of you. These two things, he points to the chests, they are the most important things for the Empire about Hirosaka now. You have to take this to the Emerald Office and send this directly to Doji Satsume as soon as spring comes. These are your orders. To take this and, if possible, make copies. And you are to do this above anything else and not to put yourselves in any unnecessary risks.
Asahina hesitates for a very long minute. There's like an obvious sort of uncertainty to it, but he kind of haltingly just bows, I think, very low to Kitsu. And then, I guess, sort of steps back.
Doji Aiko's face gets kind of set very emotionless in stone, and he looks Kitsu in the eye, even though that defies common protocol, and says, "Duty to the Empire, regardless of my personal risk, is what put me under you, Kitsu-sama. I would be humbled to do this for you and the Empire."
Okay. So if she were to say, "May the north winds keep you safe," and maybe raise an eyebrow as though she's offering something, what would he do?
He will accept it.
Okay. So then she's going to start trying to use Shroud of the North Winds to give him as much time as possible under its little benefit.
Yeah, so basically you command with the Arcami and you ask them to keep him safe, and you can see small gales of wind moving debris out of his way as he walks.
Okay. So he won't really get to be invisible for a very long time, but hopefully it gives him a bit of a boost.
Bayushi's just going to bow very low and say nothing, but his eyes are showing that he's very, very upset at this turn of events.
Shogo crosses the fallen tower, climbs the wall, struggling a bit with the footing, and turns back and nods one last time before disappearing into the fire.
Doji is keeping the satchels of documents like hugged to his chest if he can, to keep them from out of any rain, protecting it with his body if he has to, and trying to keep them as shielded from the elements as possible.
You make your way back to your campsite. As you enter, you can see the end of the night down where ashes meet orange grief. And you later learn from a servant that no living soul emerged from the house of the Moth.
Brad can be found on Discord at BZAJ1648 and at Twitter at BZAJDA Barbarian.
Charlie can be found on Discord as Risalian and on Twitter at BowserJ, where you can find links to her L5R blog.
Evan can be found on Facebook as Evan Strite or Discord as PushyMushy1871, and I'm a part of another actual play for L5R called Secondhand Strife. You can check us out anywhere podcasts are distributed.
Sam can be found on Discord and Reddit as Live From My Basement, and on Instagram as @SJSidlacek.
Ludo can be found at Deletial on Twitter, and their design work can be found at Populesque Ludum Syndicate on Drive-Thru RPG and Itch.io. This is a Courtgames podcast. You can find more about them at CourtgamesPod on Twitter or at their site courtgamespod.com. Legends of the Five Ring is the intellectual property currently owned by Fantasy Flight Games.